everybody, it's Crystal. Hope everybody is doing well today and staying safe. So today I'm going to show you how to make this hat. This is my no rhyme or reason hat because really it is what it says. There is no rhyme or reason to this hat. It's just a bunch of stitches. So, but I like it. I think it turned out really well. So why don't we go ahead and do some measurements on it. So it should fit around 19 to 23 inch head. And I do tell you up here whenever we do increasing how you can make that bigger or smaller. So lengthwise it's right at about 8.25 inches, and also I tell you how you can make that longer or shorter. I tend to wear my hats a little bit longer on my head towards like down by my eyebrows, and I do go over how you can make your brim longer or shorter and how to make it a slouchy if you would like to do that. So this is what it looks like. You know, it's relatively easy as long as you know the basic stitches. It's got double crochet, puff stitches, working in the back loop. We got ribbing, we got triangle stitches, you know, everything with the kitchen sink. Okay, let me move this to the side and I'll show you. Oh, this would be suitable for a man or a woman too. I'll move that to the side and I'll show you what yarn I used. Okay, for this particular hat, I used Malintosh hand dyed. This is a 100% superwash merino, and it is a medium weight number 4. You do not have to use this yarn. Any medium weight number 4 will work. Now, it does say that there are 130 yards here, and I was able to make that hat with one skein and still have some left, which makes me wonder if there's really 130 yards there. But by going by what it says, I did it with like 120 yards. But I don't know if that's a mistake, because I don't think I've ever made a 4-weight hat with 120 yards. You might want to have 180 just in case. You know what I mean? Just in case, because sometimes labels are wrong, but it could be right. But remember, any 4, you know, better safe than sorry. You know, it very well could be 130. I don't know. This will be a first time for me making a hat that with that amount of yarn. But anyways, that's cool. So the color that I'm using is called a Farm Fresh Eggs. I love it. It's like identical to that. It's super cute. But you remember, you don't have to use this yarn. Any yarn 4-weight will work. And I'm using a size J, which is a 6mm crochet hook. You guys ready? Let's do it. Alright, so this beanie is worked top down, so we'll go ahead and start with a slip knot on our hook. Now you can use the magic circle here if you prefer. Otherwise, I'm going to do a chain of 4. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch to form a ring. I always throw my tail over, and then I put my middle finger in between the hook and the chain like that, and then I do my slip stitch, which helps me keep that ring open so I can work in it. Now I'm going to chain 1. Now that chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and we're going to be working back into the center of this ring, and we're going to work 12 double crochets into the ring. So we're going to yarn over, go into the ring, and then draw a loop back up, and then do our double crochet like normal. So that is 1. We want to do it 12 times. There's 2. 3. 4. 5, and I'm going to continue around until I get a total of 12. I'll see you in just a second. Alright, I've made it back around, and you can usually pull your tail and close up that center circle a little bit, and then we can sew it together later if you want to sew it completely together. We're going to go ahead and end round 1 by slip stitching into our first double crochet. Not our chain 1, but our first double. And that will end round 1, and we have 12 stitches. Now we're going to go ahead and start round 2. We're going to chain 1, which again does not count as a stitch. We're going to work right back into this very same stitch that we just slip stitched into, and we're going to work 2 double crochets into that stitch. So there's 1 and there's 2. Now for round 2, we're going to work around and we're going to put 2 double crochets into every single stitch. So we're going to jump to the next stitch and we're going to work 2 double crochets in it. And then the next one, 2 doubles. And then the next one, 2 doubles. And we're going to repeat this pattern of 2 double crochets in every stitch, and I will see you right back here at the end of round 2. All right, I've made it to the end of round 2, and you should have a total of 24 stitches now. And we're going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into our first double crochet, just like that. And now we're going to begin round 3 by chaining 1, which again does not count as a stitch. So this time we're going to go back into this very same stitch again, and we're going to work only 1 double crochet into that stitch. And then the next stitch we're going to put 2 double crochets into the same stitch. Just like that. So that's going to be the repeat for round 3. The next stitch we'll put 1 double crochet, and then the next stitch will be 2 doubles into the same stitch. 1 double into the next stitch, and then the next stitch will be 2 doubles into the next. So we're going to go ahead and repeat this pattern of 1 double, 2 double, 1 double, 2 double, all the way around, and I'll meet back up with you when we make it to the end of round 3. Alright, I've made it to the end of round 3, and your last stitch should have had 2 double crochets in it, and now you should have a total of 36 stitches. And we're going to go ahead and end our round by slip stitching into our first double crochet, and then we will begin round 4 by chaining 1, which does not count as a stitch. Now this time we're going to go back into that same stitch and we're going to put 1 double crochet into it. And then the next stitch we're going to put 1 double crochet into it. And then the next stitch we will put 2 double crochets into the same stitch. And that will be the repeat for round 4. 1 double into the next, 1 double into the next, and then 2 doubles into the next stitch. Again, 1 double into the next, 1 double into the next, and then 2 doubles into the next. And we're going to go ahead and get another double in there. Repeat this pattern all the way around. 1 double, 1 double, 2 double, 1 double, 1 double, 2 double, all the way around, and I will meet back up with you in just 1 second. Alright, I've made it to the end of row 4, and again you should have ended with 2 double crochets in your last stitch, and now you should have a total of 48 stitches, and we'll go ahead and end this round by slip stitching into our first double crochet. And then we'll begin round 5 by chaining 1, which again does not count as a stitch. So this time we are going to go back into the very first stitch again and put 1 double crochet. And then we're going to put 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and then the next stitch we are going to put 2 double crochets into the same stitch. So that will be the repeat for round 5. If you look, we have 1, 2, 3 double crochets on their own, and then the next stitch gets 2 double crochets into the same stitch. So let's go ahead and repeat that again. So 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. So there's 1 double, go to the next, 2 doubles, go to the next, that's 3 doubles in a row, and then the next stitch gets 2 doubles into the same stitch. Again, 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. So we go 1 double into the next, 1 double, drop that one double into the next, one double into the next. So you can see that was 3 double crochets in a row, and then the next is 2 doubles into the same stitch. So we're going to go ahead and repeat this pattern for round 5. 1 double, 1 double, 1 double, 2 doubles, 1 double, 1 double, 1 double, 2 doubles, all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the end of round 5. Alright, I have made it to the end of round 5, and you should have ended in 2 double crochets again in your last stitch. You should have a total of 60 stitches. And let's go ahead and end round 5 by slip stitching into our first double crochet. Now let's stop for a moment, but don't tie your yarn, just pull it up a bit. And we're going to measure the crown here. So this is the crown of our hat. So kind of flatten it out here on your table, and we'll get a tape measure. Now we're shooting in between 6 to 6.5 inches is what we always hope for. Not on all hats. For this particular hat pattern, I'm shooting for 6 to 6.5 inches. And there we go. 6.5 is what I got. Perfect. So as long as you got something like that, you're good to go. Alright, let's continue. If you need to make it bigger, you can do another row of increases in the same manner that we just did. If you want to make it smaller, you can leave off a row of increases. Okay, so we're done increasing now. So we're not going to do any more increases. Got the crown the size that we want it to be. So we'll go ahead and start round 6. We're going to chain 1. Now this round is just a round of 1 double crochet in every single stitch. So we're going to go right back into this very first stitch as always, and double crochet. And I'm going to work around, and I'm going to put 1 double crochet in every stitch until I make it back to my starting point. So no increasing, just double in every stitch. And I will meet back up with you in just 1 second. Alright, so I've made it to the end of round 6, and you still should have 60 stitches. It's okay if your hat looks funny, if it looks twisted and weird. Hopefully, just hopefully, it'll look like a hat in the end. We won't know till we're finished. So let's go and start round 7. So we're going to end round 6 though by slip stitching into our first double crochet here. Just like that. Now we're going to do a row of a single crochet. So what we're going to do is we are going to chain 1 like that. We're going to go back into this very first stitch, and we're going to put a single crochet like that. Now for the remaining single crochets that we do, we're going to be working in the back loop only. So when you look at your stitches up close, you'll see that each stitch has 2 loops. The one closest to you is your front loop, and the one furthest away is the back loop. We're going to do a single crochet in the back loop of every single stitch. So you're only going through 1 loop, and we're doing the back loop only. Single crochet. See that? And what that does is it kind of just puts a little decorative ridge on it. You know, just for decor. If you don't like that, you can leave it off and just do regular single crochet through both loops. Still work out the same. You just won't have that ridge. So 1 single crochet, back loop only, all the way around for round 7. And I'll meet back up with you when we make it back around to our starting point. Alright, I have made it to the end of round 7, and you need to have 60 stitches still. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into my first single crochet. This time we're working through both loops, so no more back loops at the moment. 60 stitches, and we're going to go ahead and start round 8. What are we going to do? Let me think for a minute. Let's do some puffs. Alright, so we're going to chain 1. And we are going to puff stitch back here into this very first stitch, okay? So here's how we're going to do the puff for this round. We're not going to yarn over. We're going to go directly into that stitch that we just slip stitched into, and then draw up a loop. And we're going to yarn over, go back into the same stitch again, and draw up a loop. And we got 4 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and go through all 4 like that. And then we are going to chain 1 to lock it. And that's how we're going to do the puff for this round. Let's see, it's a mini puff. So we're going to skip 1 stitch and we're going to put a puff into the next. Remember, we're going through both loops. So don't chain 1, or I'm sorry, don't yarn over the first time. Skip this stitch and go into the next. And without yarning over, go into it and drop a loop, and then yarn over and go into the same stitch and drop a loop. 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through all 4 and chain 1. That's our mini puff. Let's do that again. We're going to skip 1, do not yarn over, so skip the next one, go into it, drop a loop, then we yarn over, go into the same stitch and drop a loop. 4 loops, yarn over and go through all 4, chain 1. And we're going to do this all the way around. Again, skip 1, go into the next one without yarning over and drop a loop, and then we're going to yarn over, go in, drop a loop, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through all 4 and chain 1. And this is a pattern that we're going to repeat all the way around until we make it to the end of round 8. Alright, I've made it to the end of round 8. You should have 1 stitch that remains, and you should have a total of 30 puffs with a chain 1 in between them. So I chained 1 after my last puff. I'm going to skip my last stitch and I'm going to slip stitch into the top of my first puff. So just right around this area here. Doesn't have to be exact, but just somewhere around there. And that'll end round 8. Now why don't we go ahead and start round 9. And we are going to chain 1 and turn our work this time. So now we're working in the opposite direction. So we're going to work a puff in the same manner that we worked our other puffs, right here in this spot here. So we're going to go into it without yarning over and drawing up a loop. And then we're going to yarn over and go into the same spot and drop a loop. And you'll have 4 loops. We're going to chain 1, and then we're going to jump over here to the next puff, the side of it right here. So here's your puff. If you kind of pull it apart, you'll see like kind of this almost triangle little stitch there. That's what we're going to go into. And again, without yarning over, you go into the side of that puff and draw up a loop, and then we yarn over and go into the same spot and draw up a loop, 4 loops, yarn over and go through all 4 and chain 1. And this is what we're going to do all the way around. So again, let's jump over here to our next puff, and if you just take it and pull it like that, you'll see that little triangle shape. That's what we have to go through. Don't yarn over, and go into it, draw up a loop, and then we yarn over and go into it and draw up a loop. 4 loops, yarn over and go through all 4 and chain 1. And we're going to repeat this all the way around. Again, we'll jump over here to our next one, and without yarning over, we go into it and draw up a loop, and then we're going to yarn over and go into the same spot, draw up a loop, 4 loops, yarn over and go through all 4 and chain 1. And again, we'll puff in this stitch, chain 1, puff right there and chain 1, and I'm going to do this all the way around, and I'll meet back up with you at the end. Remember, we're working on the wrong side of our work at this time. Alright, I come to the end of round 9, 30 puff stitches with the chain 1 in between each one, and I have 1 chain 1 here to skip. So I'm just going to skip that, and I'm going to make sure you chain 1 after your last puff, and by slip stitching into the top of my last puff like that, and that will end row 9. So I'm going to start row 10, and I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work back around to the front. So now I'm back on the front side of my work. Alright, so for row 10, what we're going to do is we're going to start off by putting a single crochet right here into the very first stitch that we just slip stitched into, like that. Now the next stitch you can see is a chain 1 space. We're going to do a double crochet, but we're going to do a drop double. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the double crochet in the puff stitch below right here. So we're going to yarn over and we're going to go into the top of this puff stitch. Sometimes it gets a little tight, but wiggle it in there. And then we do our double crochet, just draw it up just a bit. There we go, even with your single. There we go. That way we're not going to have no big gap there in between our stitches. Plus, you know, it adds a little extra texture. What the heck, huh? All right, and then we are going to single crochet into the side of the next puff. So right here, the little triangle spot, put single crochet. And then we're going to do a drop double into the next spot. So right here, we're going to drop down and do a double crochet into this puff stitch down here. Now remember, it is always a little tight there, but you can do it. And double crochet. And this is a pattern that we're going to repeat all the way around. So single crochet into the side of the next double, this little triangle spot. And then we're going to drop double into the next spot. So this little space here, we're going to drop down and do a double crochet into the top of this puff. Just like that. And then we're going to repeat this all the way around. Single crochet into the side of the next puff. And then drop double into the puff stitch below in the next spot. Single crochet into the side of the next puff. And drop double into the puff from the row below. So I'm going to continue this and I will meet back up with you when I make it back around to my starting point. Alright, I've made it to the end of round 10 and I have 60 stitches. Your last stitch should have been a drop double. And we're going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into our first single crochet. Just like that. And we're going to chain one. And now we're going to do the single crochet in the back loop of every stitch again. So we're going to, but first we're going to go into this very first one and just do a regular single crochet. Like this. We're on round 11 now. And then we're going to work in the back loop of every stitch and we're going to put one single crochet in the back loop of every stitch all the way around until we make it back to our starting point. Just like this. So I'm going to continue with my single crochet in the back loop and I'll meet back up with you here in just a second. Alright, I've made it to the end of round 11. 60 stitches is what you should still have. And I am going to go ahead and slip stitch into my first single crochet, but I'm going to go through both loops of it. Just like that. Alright, so we're going to start round 12 and we're going to chain one. Now this is going to be a double crochet row. So what we're going to do is do a double crochet into the first stitch here. And then we're going to work a double crochet in the back loop of every stitch all the way around. So it's like the single crochet row that we just did, but we're going to do double instead. So back loop only, double crochet into every stitch all the way around. This hat really has no rhyme or reason. I'm just going with it. So enjoy the ride. One double in every stitch in the back loop only, and I will meet back up with you when we make it to the end of round 12. Alright, so I've made it to the end of round 12, 60 stitches still. We're going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into our first double crochet. So let's go ahead and do round 13. Let's go ahead and make it another row of double crochet. So we're going to chain one. We're going to go back into this first stitch and we're going to do a double crochet. This time we're going to be working through both loops. So we're not going to do the back loop this time. So we're just going to do a round of one double crochet in each stitch going through both loops. So this is round 13 that we're on now. 1 double in every stitch going through both loops this time until we make it back to our starting point. There we go. Alright, so I've made it to the end of round 13, and you should still have 60 stitches. So we're going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into our first double crochet. Let's do round 14. How about, let's do some triangle stitches. That should be fun. So we're going to chain 1 for round 14. And we are going to yarn over and go back into this very first stitch that we just slip stitched into, and then we're going to draw up a loop. So you'll have 3 loops on your hook. Then we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch and draw up a loop, and you will have 5 loops on your hook. Then we're going to yarn over one more time and go into the next stitch and draw up a loop, and you should have 7 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over and go through all 7 and chain 1. There you go, as a triangle. Now we're going to start again, and this time we're going to start, though, now every triangle that we start, we're going to start it in the same stitch that we finished our last triangle in. So we're going to yarn over and go into that same stitch there and draw up a loop. So you'll have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go into the next stitch and draw up a loop. You'll have 5 loops on your hook. One more time, we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch and draw up a loop. 7 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through all 7 and chain 1. 2 triangles. Let's do that again. Remember, we start in the same stitch that we just ended in. So we're going to yarn over and go back into that same stitch, draw up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, 5 loops on your hook, yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, 7 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through all 7 and chain 1. You don't have to make your chain 1 real tight. Just like that. And this is what we're going to repeat all the way around until we get to the end of row 14. Let's do that again. We're going to yarn over and go into the same stitch here that we just ended our last triangle, draw up a loop. So you got 3 loops now. Yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, 5 loops. One more time, yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, 7 loops this time. You want to yarn over and go through all 7 loops and chain 1, just like that. So I'm going to continue this pattern all the way around, and I'll meet back up with you at the beginning. Alright, I'm coming to the end of round 14, which is my triangle stitch row, and I just did a triangle, and you can see that I have 1 stitch left. So this is how we're going to finish it off. We're going to yarn over and go back into that same stitch here, just like we did before, and draw up a loop, 3 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over and go into that last stitch, draw up a loop, 5 loops on our hook. Then we're going to yarn over and go into the same stitch as our first triangle, draw up a loop, 7 loops, yarn over and go through all 7 loops, chain 1, and then we're going to end by slip stitching into the top of our first triangle. So just right here is fine. And you should have 30 triangles now. That ends round 14, and we can begin round 15. What we're going to do now is we are going to chain 1, and we're going to go back into the same spot, and we're going to put a single crochet, and then we're going to put a single crochet into every chain 1 space, or into every stitch that you see here across. So I'm going to put a single crochet right here. We went back into the same spot that we just slip stitched into, and we did a single crochet. And then we are going to single crochet on top of this triangle here. And then we're going to single crochet into this space here. I'm actually going to kind of go into it like that. Not through the space, but through the stitch. and then single crochet on top of the triangle, and then this is the chain 1 here. I'm not going to go like right through the space. I'm actually going to go through the stitch like that and single crochet. See that? And this is what we're going to do all the way around. Single crochet on top of the triangle, and then when you come to the chain 1, go through the chain 1 instead of the whole entire space. It won't be so gappy that way. Go through it like that. There we go. And I'm going to do this all the way around, and we're on round 15, and I will meet back up with you when we make it back around to our starting point. Remember, 1 single crochet on top of the triangle, and then 1 single crochet in the chain 1 space, but kind of like go into the chain space. Don't just do this. I mean, you can, but you'll have a little bit of a gap, a little bit more of a gap there than what you would doing it this way. All right, I'll see you in just a second. All right, so I've made it to the end of round 15, and I have 60 stitches now, so I'm going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into my first single crochet here. And now I'm going to start round 16, and I'm going to start the brim of the hat now, so I'm going to be working some post stitches. So, but first, I'm going to do a row of double crochet, working in the back loop only. Might as well have a ridge down here like we do up here, huh? All right, so we're going to start by chaining 1, and we're going to go back into this very first stitch here, and then we are going to double crochet. And now we're going to work 1 double crochet in the back loop only, all the way around until we make it back to our starting point. Just like this. Double, back loop only, and I will meet back up with you when we make it back around to our starting point. I will see you in a second. All right, I've made it to the end of round 16, so I'm going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into my first double crochet. Now I'm going to do some post stitches. Now remember, this is the brim now, so you can make it as long as or as short as you'd like. If you want to do it slouchy style, you can do more rows on the brim. If you want it shorter, you can do less rows. I tend to like to wear my beanies a little bit lower along my eyebrows, so I kind of make mine a little bit longer. You know, but you can determine how long you want yours to be. So let's go ahead and start by chaining 1, and we're going to go back into this very first stitch, and we're going to do a double crochet. Now that first double crochet is going to act as a back post double crochet. Now we're going to do a front post double crochet around the next stitch, and then we're going to do a back post double crochet around the next. Front post double crochet around the next stitch, and then back post double crochet around the next. So this is what we're going to do now. We are just going to repeat the front post double crochet, back post double crochet all the way around until we make it back to our starting point. Front post double, and then back post double. And this is going to create some ribbing for the brim. Just like that. So go ahead and repeat that pattern all the way around, and I'll meet back up with you when we make it back to our starting point. Alright, I come to the end of row 17, and you should have ended in a front post double crochet, and I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into my first double, 60 stitches still. You know what, I'm good with my brim. I'm not going to do any more length on it, but I am going to put a single crochet row to finish. So on round 18, remember, you can do more if you want, or you could just have left it off as well and stopped at that last row of double crochet or the last row of single crochet. But we're going to chain 1 here for row 18. We're going to go back in that same stitch and single crochet, and now I'm going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch. Now I'm going through both loops. This is my final row, my finishing row of single crochet. 1 in every stitch until I make it back around to my starting point. And I'll meet back up with you at the beginning. Alright, I've come to the end of my final round, 18. I'm going to end by slip stitching into my first single crochet. 60 stitches is what you should have. I'm going to go ahead and clip off that tail there. And then I'm going to hide my yarn and I will be finished. So, I hope that you enjoyed my tutorial and that you were able to follow along okay. Remember, as always, check the description box. There'll be a link there for over 1,000 free crochet tutorials, all there for you to enjoy. And I always appreciate a subscribe and a like and a comment below. That always helps me out if you enjoyed this video. And don't forget to turn those notifications on either, so you don't miss out on any new videos. And you can always show me a picture on my Bagoday Crochet Facebook page or my Instagram of anything that you make of mine. I'd really like to see it. So, that's it. I like it. I'm gonna wear it. Thanks everybody for watching. Bye guys.